Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join us for the Zeald webinar series, Keep Calm and Get Digital. My name is Rhonda and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. Doing business in today's business environment means you have to change and adapt. The government has been doing some work on how to handle another wave in the pandemic. Just like the government, you should be ready to adapt and change to business environments as they change. We've been delivering informative webinars with a lot of valuable information to support businesses to adapt and change to the new ways of doing business. Every week we are discovering a new change that is happening in the marketplace, and we are paying attention to this and designing webinars to help you navigate through this. Today, our webinar is on building trust and credibility. And our speaker today is Lisa. I'll just share my screen so you can see a picture of Lisa. Yep. So Lisa is our client services manager. She has had a varied background from working on a dairy farm to running large corporate teams. She has a wealth of knowledge in the online space and has been pivotal in helping many of Zeald clients achieve great results online. If you haven't joined us before, there's just a little bit of housekeeping. If you can't hear anything, you should be able to see the audio settings down on the left side there that you can play around with. If you're wanting to ask a question, there's the Q&A section here that you can put a question through at any time. And then a raised hands means that you're wanting to ask a question and we can invite you to speak. If that's the case, we'd probably leave that to the very end of this webinar, but otherwise you can just put a chat message through on chat at any time. And if you've missed anything, we will be sending out a recording of the webinars to those that have registered, and also it will be available on our YouTube channel. So today's webinar is on building trust and credibility, and I will hand the time over to Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Rhonda. Thanks so much for having me here today. Really looking forward to sharing my thoughts around this, as well as some best practices. So looking awesome for our webinar today. So building trust and credibility, what we are going to cover, the fundamentals, first impressions, key areas on the homepage, products and services, additional pages, and the next steps. So what to do once you've got the basics covered. So like I said, we're starting off with the fundamentals. So these really go without saying. And I don't want to spend too much time covering these off today because they're basically what you should have on your website if you are selling online, collecting customer information, offering a service, or really just online profiling your business. So the first of all is SSL certificates. So all websites should have this. Google in particular does penalize people who do not have these. So it is just something that you should have there. Safe, secure, and known payment options. So if you are trading online and e-commerce, make sure you have payment options that are well known and that are safe and secure. Sometimes little ones pop up that people have created and they might not be that well known, so best not to try and go down those paths. Whether you are trading online or you offering services, best to put your terms and conditions or terms of service online on your website. Just gives people a place to go and review those and does help with trust and credibility. Also a privacy policy. So anyone who's coming to your site will want to see privacy policy smack bang in the middle, because this just tells them what happens on your website if you do collect details at all. So inquiry forms as well as orders. It's just a key thing to have on there. I know I get quite frustrated and I actually will not purchase off a site that doesn't sort of have some of these on there because I'm worried about my own details. And the next one is a returns policy or a complaint process. So just letting people know how to get in contact with you if something's not going right, regardless of whether they actually have bought something from you or used your service. You know, it's best for them to be aware of this. And then the last two, which may seem like common sense, but contact details and store and business hours. So, you know, find a way to get in touch. biggest frustration, wanting to try and find someone to call them. I'm on the way home, just want to find out if the store's open or something, and I'm driving, want to hit that phone number and it's not there. So, having these details readily there is just going to help people build that trust with you, because they know they can actually go and speak to someone. So I'm going to move quite quickly, like I said, through this one. So on to the next now, which is around first impressions. And first impressions really do count. The digital world holds many comparisons to the real world. One of the most common being the fact that the first impression you make on someone new. So just as when you meet someone in real life, you create a picture in your head. And as much as we try not to be judgmental, it happens. It's human nature to judge. And so you sort of create this one in about the first 3 seconds. Some research does say it's about 30 seconds, but we'll just go with 3 seconds for today. And that's that. In that 3 seconds, you really need to create your best first impression. So first of all, be on time. So what I mean in the digital world is, have your website load. Ensure that it is loading quickly between 1 to 3 seconds. So this is going to be quite important on the homepage. But if you are sort of doing marketing campaigns to other pages on the website, you do need to take that into considerations as well. So, I know my sister is a #1 offender in this area. She's generally late to our family gatherings, and it can be quite frustrating. So similar to that, people coming to your website, it's not loading quick enough for them. They're going to start getting frustrated. And even though there's not a direct comparison with trust and credibility, that frustration helps build that picture and sort of puts a roadblock in as to, it took forever to see what you offer or look at your products. So that's a key there. And then make sure you have a clear message and layout on your website. So the website's loaded quickly. You now have about another 3 seconds to capture the audience. And what you don't want them doing is having to find and be searching the page. You want to make a very clear message straight away for them. And you want to make sure it's not cluttered. You don't want them trying to see a million different things to do. You just want it very clear. So I'll start going into quite a lot more detail now as we dive into the homepage, so the key areas. So we have the UVP, or unique value proposition, as it is known. Some people may refer to this as the USP. Unique sales proposition. So this is the introduction to your website. It's the who, what, why. And this is where I'm talking about this clear messaging. So have it front and center, what you do or what you're offering. And that needs to be right there when the page is loaded. You need to think about that sentence being very clear. And you need to try and not bog it down with keywords. So I know sometimes people get quite caught up with SEO and I need keywords, I need visitors coming to my site. But using this UVP to be keyword heavy is not ideal. You can sort of have 1 or 2 in there, but don't sort of have the whole thing situated around keywords. In this, I think another good point is keeping it short. So remember, again, you only have about those 3 seconds to get the message out there at this stage. The more someone has to read, the less interested they're going to be. So just keep that in mind. And then the next bit is also use your hero image. So in this example, this is the image behind the text. So use that image to back up your words. So in the situation of our example here, what we're actually trying to convey is small to medium businesses in New Zealand. So we've got someone who's a baker, and that's what we're displaying here. For your business, it might just be, if referring back because I did work on a farm. If it's farming services, you might have a picture of a farm, or you might have some cows at a fence, that sort of thing. So you want that message to back up what you're that image to back up what your message is trying to say. And then most importantly here as well, press the wrong button, a call to action. So direct the customer. So what do you want them to do if they read that and they actually just want to get going? give them a call to action, which for us here is the apply now. For you, it could be get in touch, get a quote, view my products, things like that. And I think, yeah, my expert tip here is around that call to action. So really make sure it is there. You need to direct them. You don't want them going down the page and having to find where that direction is unless they want to keep going. So you just want to drive them through. Now, the next section on our homepage is features and benefits. So what these are they are just little snippets which are used to provide valuable information to your visitor quickly. So these are really key points around your products, your service, or your business. So it's covering off the whys. Why your business, why your product, why your service. And it is also pointing out what's special about you. So for some New Zealand businesses, New Zealand made or New Zealand owned and operated is one that you'll see quite commonly. If you're sustainable or eco-friendly, you know, that's quite a trend that's happening. So that's just another thing you could be pointing out here. If you're natural, organic or vegan, if it's more food-based, those are just some key points that are just to give you some examples today. And it's also a good point to go, yeah, what's special about what you're offering? So remember here, short, sharp headlines, and this is where I've just got two examples for us. So the first one is just, you know, not a lot of words at all. It is just going, it's maintenance free, it's durable, cost effective. Our second one is giving a bit more detail because it does need to provide that to back up at what it's trying to say. So here it's talking about the coat and condition. This is for animals, and then what their products do around that. And then use icons to catch the eye and sort of back up what that's saying. So again, maintenance free, sort of a tool to point out maintenance there. So this is just something else to consider and should be almost immediately under the home page. It's something that you're just starting to answer questions and build that trust with your customer to show that you're knowledgeable and here's what you can actually do for them. The next section here, as you keep going down your homepage, you would want to at some point see an About Us. So today using the lovely Robin's Cottage. So the About Us is really humanizing yourself. You know, getting people to buy from people is a good way to build trust. It's how we've always done things and it's how we still do it, even though there's a screen between us. So, you know, you want to know that you are buying from real people. Again, like I said before, you know, I get a bit suspect when I go to a website and, you know, there's no way to actually get in touch with someone. So that's just an important thing to remember. People still want to buy from people. It's just they're doing it through a laptop or a device. So it's more information on who you are. It builds a story or connection between your potential customer and you or your business. So I think that's very key. Here is some a good area to sort of highlight how long you've been in the business. Little points about this can make you be seen as trusted experts or you know, you're around a long time. So, you know, you should have the experience behind you. But again, if you're only just starting out as well, then you might not need to highlight this in the same way. You could still sort of say you're a startup or you're coming into the industry, but there may be some other experience there or something completely different that makes you quite unique in the market. And it's a good place to highlight that. Perfect place as well, again, humanizing your website. So perfect place for a team photo or, you know, a photo of yourself, a photo if you work with pets, photos of the pets that you work with, talking about vets. So that's also a great way to build that trust and credibility. Now, moving into testimonials or a logo showcase. So I'll cover these off separately. So the first one is testimonials. So this is having your existing clients recommending you. Why does this build trust and credibility? Because now the customer to your website, well, potential customer, is now hearing from other people about you, your products, your service. So instead of them having to go off and find that, they're actually seeing it right there. And if you keep up to date with sort of technology news, digital news, you know, most people actually do quite a lot of research. So the more information you have here, and testimonials or reviews are a great one for that, helps build it straight away on your website instead of them going off to somewhere else and looking for reviews there. So, you know, it is quite key. One thing with testimonials as well, when you're selecting them, try and find ones that sort of highlight your skills or your products. You know, sometimes people have testimonials just going, you know, always great seeing the team at the shop or something like that. Those are great, but you really want one that sort of does highlight either your skills, if it's a service, or the products that you're offering, because that just sort of solidifies what they may be purchasing or utilizing from you, and gives them that confidence behind it. Yep, so this one definitely good for both trust and credibility. And then we move into logo showcase. So different reasons why you might use a logo showcase. So it might be to showcase all the clients that you work with, could be a little showcase of just suppliers that you have, or could be a showcase of the other people that you partner with. So, you know, for us at Zeald, we obviously highlight some of our clients that we work with. If you are maybe distributing you know, let's say you build fences, you might have certain suppliers of where you get the materials from, and that's always good to highlight so people can see the quality behind the product. And likewise, if you, let's say again, construction, just in my head, I'm living in a construction area at the moment, you might also partner with other people. You could be the main builder and the project management team, but you might partner with certain plumbers, etc., to get the work done. So what the logo showcase does is, like I've just covered off, highlights who you work with. And it is a lot better for probably service-based businesses, more than just people who are direct selling products. But it just helps build your experience or your knowledge in the area. So definitely better for credibility building. Now that we're sort of covered off the homepage, I am going to start jumping into other areas of the website. So our next up is your product or service information. So with these areas, you want to make sure you are providing enough information about your products or service. As you can see in the examples here, you know, we just sort of have big fitting plain tees. And for me, I'm sort of like, well, what does that mean? I've had plenty of things say that they're loose fitting and they end up being quite tight. So the more information you can put in there, the better. As you can see on the example below, good old Kmart, it actually talks, you know, it's a ribbed crew neck, it's got short sleeves, it's a regular fit, the material, what it's made of. So you're removing barriers that would normally have people want to come in and, oh, I need to know what it's made of, or I need to feel what that's made of. Most people will start going, oh, it's got cotton, I have quite a lot of cotton clothing. Added extra here as well for Kmart is care instructions, you know, so machine wash it. This can be helpful in some areas, but it's just another consideration of what to make. So I think what the key to product or service information is, what is it and what it does, or what you're going to do if it's a service. So again, a product, think dimensions, colors. If it's food, think allergens or any ingredients you might need to list. If you're doing, let's say, flooring, you lay floors, you know, what you will do under the service, you know, the approximate time that it might take if you're able to sort of say, you know, do X amount of area, and also what materials you'll use. So providing that information, stopping people having to go and find out more, will really help build that trust, because it's just all right there for them. And so the best way to look into this is, what would my customer need to know? What, you know, right now you'll probably know already what it is. People will ring you. What are they ringing you for? So you always got to think about, what questions do I most commonly get? So then I should be answering those on my website. And then, you know, what else might they want to know? because sometimes people won't ask you, they might go somewhere else that does have it. So this makes your business appear more knowledgeable, and I just sort of covered that off, so that's another key. So yeah, the more information you have, the more knowledge you seem to have, and the more trusted you are with your customers. It removes those roadblocks and hesitations of your customer having to go somewhere else to find the details or get in touch. There is a hesitation to get in touch unless they're sort of wanting to go ahead. And it removes the roadblock of when they do call, of having to find out information first and go, I'll get back to you on that. So something I quite commonly do is I'll go and find all the information, I'll speak with my husband about it, and then I'll call and book. If I had to call first and sort of find out the information, I probably would go somewhere else because it's just not as quick, and you could potentially lose me as a customer. Cool. So my expert tip here is, you might not have all the information right now for your products and services, and that's all right, but put something, don't leave it blank. I think that's something common I quite often see, and people just leave it blank completely. So try and put something in there, but don't worry if it's not everything. You can always add or should be able to add on your website more to your products and services. Great. So now carrying on with products and service pages. So this sort of follows through from the testimonials we talked about on the home page, but now it's starting to become product or service specific. So it's good for especially products, so e-commerce websites, to try and have product reviews. This is a way for people to directly relate to other people and see that, okay, other people have bought this, I'm not the first one, and they're enjoying the product, or it's doing what it said it would do. So the best way to get this is just to ask for them. So if you're not quite sure how, we've covered off in some previous webinars about getting reviews and doing email marketing for that. But if you're not quite that far through your marketing process, it might just be a simple, when you're sending out your invoice, go, please leave a review. Something as simple as that. And you're not going to get everyone doing it, but at least a couple of people doing it will start building that trust in your products, and definitely showing it on the product pages is going to be key here. Another side of this, so if you're a service more as well, it's providing that confidence. So services is a bit different. You'll probably have it more as sort of a slideshow on the page. And again, it might be more testimonial based, but really just thinking about, adding in these to really build that confidence. And another thing here as well, so this is where I'm sort of starting to lead towards social media a little bit, is around sort of having images with text and not just always text, or even video testimonials. So if you do have Facebook or Instagram, it's good to see that you maybe get people taking photos with your product if they're able to, wearing it if you sell clothes, or using it if it's, like nail polish, something like that, and having them sort of showcase your product at the same time. This will show, people what it looks like as well on different types of people, rather than just, in particular, let me cover off clothing, the perfect mannequin or perfect model that we don't all look like. So that's where, if you can get images with text or videos, and again, this will be more social media based, it is going to be a lot stronger than the written. But if you are just starting out, focus on written first. Don't try and make it too impossible. Just take a small step. And so my expert tip here is, don't forget to get reviews for social media and Google as well. So, you want them on your website, but you can also ask for them on the other places. And likewise, if you get a review on Facebook or you get a review on Google reviews, just ask if you can use it on your website. I know that's a common thing that we do here at Zeald. We will go, hey, thanks so much for leaving that review. Are you happy for us to use it on our website? And 100% of the time it's a yes. So that's not too hard to do. That's not moving. Cool. So now that we've sort of gone through the whole homepage and just your products and services, these are just some additional pages that I think you should make sure you do have, or at least in the pipeline to have on your website. The reason they build trust and credibility for the About Us and Contact Us page is it's, again, that humanizing factor of your website. It's showing people who you are and in depth, especially if it's sort of a meet the team page, but it's also you know, carrying on from your story that you probably had on your homepage. You don't want your whole, you know, 2 pages of About Us on the homepage. You'll just want a little blurb and then carry it through to the About Us page. And so as our example here, if you work with a team, introduce them. Have their names, have who they are, have what they do. If you don't work with a large team, then you might not do it individually, but you might just do a group photo. But again, that whole thought about humanizing your website, it's quite easy to do, and it just makes that connection that people would generally get if they did come into your shop or they came through to your business to get something from you. Another important part about the About Us page is highlighting any significant milestones, as well as any awards or recognition. I think these are important because it's just good to sort of, especially if you've been around for a long time and you've got quite a few significant milestones, you know, highlight your knowledge and expertise, make yourself stand out. And similar for startups, you might have an award for being, you know, the fastest growing startup. Put that on there. Let people know that, you know, to take you seriously and to trust that you know what you're doing, or you know the products you sell are you know, 100% backed by you. Then the Contact Us page just highlights how to get in touch. And I think the most important thing here is the phone number or address of a store is preferable. It's just knowing you can get in touch with them. Definitely have an inquiry form as well. But like I said, being able to know that there's going to be someone on the other end of the line by having a phone number on there just sort of really pushes that trust up for anyone visiting your site. So, you know, do think about that if it's something in the past that you've not had on your website. And so my expert tip here, quite a simple one, and actually leads me quite nicely onto my next bit is get the basics covered, and then you can start having some fun. So what I've covered off so far really are the basics of trust and credibility for your website. But now what we're going to do is I'm just going to cover off some bonus content for people. That's showing up now. So basically, if you've already got everything that I've discussed today covered, then these are the steps that you could be looking at next. So some of ideas of how to further yourself as knowledgeable experts or the key products to have is a blog. You know, this is going to build credibility as a trusted source of information or advice, and is perfect for people wanting to find out more. Another one is sort of a tips or tricks or how-to. So what this does is it shows people you can be a go-to for information to learn ways to use your product or do minor things themselves. Of course, an extra bonus here is if you can do video tutorials, those are awesome. But written guides are also just as good. And then another thing here is around, website chatbot. So instead of someone having to pick up the phone, do it all online. So if you've got the, resource to do so, having a chatbot on your site will just help build trust, because the second someone has a question, you can be working with them straight away, instead of them having to pick up a phone or go, I'll call later when I'm free. And it doesn't just stop here. There are some others as well. So, think about your email, using email marketing to utilize these. Send out those tips and tricks, send out those blogs to your database. Show before and after pictures, in particular, if you're a hairdresser, show how someone came into your salon and how they left and how happy they are. If you work on construction projects, show your projects that you work on, have a separate projects page. There's case studies, the list really does go on. And I'd say this is more the fun stuff once you have those basics covered. So that's all for today. I'll just stop my share there.
Thanks, Lisa.
No worries.
Now's the time that you can ask questions. If you've got any questions, just pop them through on the Q&A panel down on the bottom of your screen. But Lisa, I wondered if I could just start off with asking you a question. I noticed that you use the UVP, unique value proposition, right?
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that was the very first thing that you've done. And I'm not a marketing specialist, but I've sat next to some and just been astounded with how they can craft them. And I can only speak English, but I'm not terribly well at writing it, But I'm just wondering if you have any suggestions or tips for writing a UVP.
Yeah. So I think, if you can't come up with something, you're sort of sitting there, you're scratching your head, you haven't really got anything, you can do some competitor analysis. So just go on your competitor websites, see what they've got. Don't copy them though.
Yes.
Don't, because Google will find little things like that, but you can help use it to formulate ideas for yourself. But if also you jump on your competitor websites and you go, oh, these are terrible, which can happen, then look at some websites you do enjoy buying from or looking at or getting services through, and use them for inspiration. And last of all, if neither of those work, let's just say none of them really have anything that stands out for you, then just don't overthink it. Go really simple. Like I said, write down basically who, what, why, who you are, what you're doing and why your business, and have that within about 1 or 2 sentences there.
Right, good tip. Thank you. We've got a question from Alison.
Mm-hmm.
How many pages should your website be limited to?
Interesting. So I think there's not really a limit, I would say. It really does start coming down. If you're an e-commerce website and you have a lot of products, well, then you should be putting all your products online that you want to sell, and that shouldn't limit you. I think if you're starting to talk about, your real main pages, it is make sure you have a home page, and about us, and a contact us. Then if you've only got a few services, you might highlight those services individually as pages, especially on the menu navigation. Or if you have quite a few services, you might just put it under a key services page. But same with e-commerce, you then might, if you've only got a couple of products, just put them across. But if you've got a ton, you'll have it, categorized and all of that. So I don't think there's a limit to pages, but it's just don't, just try and cram more and more on as well.
There's a balance there, isn't there?
Definitely. And I think with something like a blog also, don't sort of get confused. All your blog posts, yes, they're individual pages, but they're actually blog posts as part of your blog, and that's fine. Don't sort of see that as another page. But no limit really.
Thank you.
As long as it's quality content, really.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for, really, is the quality.
Yes.
So Amit Dave, he says, this information you have shared is really basic and very important. Don't forget to put in the website. So I'm imagining, I think I'm understanding you there, Amit, is that you've got to actually get the information onto the website to get benefits of it. But I've got another question here from Deborah. I have a blog option on my e-commerce page. I frequently update with a new blog, but how do I encourage my customers to read it? I don't think the blog goes out to my customers. This is different to doing an online marketing campaign using, say, MailChimp.
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways, and you can use your online marketing campaign and MailChimp to be highlighting your blog. So even though you might be emailing around your products or something new that you're doing, you can still in the template have a section that goes, remember to sign up for the blog, and have even some posts from the blog in there. So it's very important that when you create content on your website, that you are using it through your other marketing areas. So email marketing, share your posts that you just did in your blog on your Facebook, or through to LinkedIn or whatever you're connected to. So use the content you have. Don't just sort of put it on one place and then don't ever utilize it again. But I think just something else I said within the email marketing campaign is, sign up for the blog. Have that on your blog pages as well. Sign up to get updates, and then just have a pure email marketing campaign around the blog updates.
Great, thanks, Lisa. Remy is saying, on humanizing our image, would you say we should write like we would explain something to a mate or a family member, or would you keep it still keep it a bit more protocol? I'm imagining more formal, because you're a business.
Yeah. So this will come down to understanding your clients and customers. So I wouldn't ever probably, take it to a slang level or anything like that if you were sitting with your mates, but you might bring it down quite to be quite casual, because that's your target audience. But if, let's say, if you're a lawyer, you'd probably keep it quite professional. Because that's the image that you're portraying, and that's what you need people to see, and that's how they're going to trust you. But let's say you're a kindergarten, you'd still want it to be professional, but you'd want it to be quite warm and family friendly orientated. So that's sort of what you're starting to think of. I think probably best way, what kind of emotion do I want someone to see that we are? And that's why I said kindergarten, you want them to see that you're family friendly orientated. Lawyer, you want to be seen as professional and knowledgeable in that space.
Yeah, no, good ideas. Just got a question. So my competitor sells the same products as me. So how can I build trust and credibility to what I'm selling, even though it's the same product?
That's a good one. I think, it's obviously good still to highlight the pros around the product. So it's still key to display that. But this is where you're needing to think what makes you unique against your competitors. So for some people, it might be as simple as we just give free shipping. That it could be that simple. But then for others, it might be, I've been in the business for 20 years. That might just help people come to you. Right now in New Zealand, local. That's what it is. We're local, we're NZ owned and operated. It's an NZ product. That's what's going to put you against maybe someone in Australia or overseas who's selling a similar product or the same one.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. But I just read this last question here. I think we've only got time for one more. But approximately how much detail is needed for the team page staff? Zeald is waiting for me to send staff detail through.
Oh, so if you're doing an overall staff overview, then it's just a quick, here's who we are and what we do. If it's individual sort of profiles for each member, I know one thing we do at Zeald, we just send a couple of questions to each person, and we get them to answer it and do it themselves. But if you're writing it on their behalf, just say who they are, what they do, and maybe a really good quality about them, fun fact. It doesn't have to be anything too long. But it is going to be helpful. Another thing you could do, and again, just taking off what we do as well, a link to the LinkedIn page so that people can find out more about that person if it's more professional services. But yeah, that it doesn't need to be too in-depth, and you can always update and change it later on.
I think what I've seen too, Lisa, is that you can start off with the group one, just with a general about us, and then as you gather your team's information, you can, work on it on it like a continual basis. Definitely. And then once you've got it, you might want to then add another part to it, like hobbies or awards or some kind of credibility factor into their specific, but at least start off with contact details, names, that sort of thing, and general information.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you for your questions, everyone. That's been awesome. And I just wondered before we finish, Lisa, sorry, do you have any other tips or tricks you want to just share?
Yeah, I just have one last one, and I want to probably bring it up again because I did only briefly touch on about it under first impressions, but I think it's key to have a very clear layout. It's quite easily to start having things cluttered. So I think you just need to always keep that in mind. Let's make it clear. Let's have that messaging clear, the image clear. Let's not have everything bombarding our customer when they land on our page. Quite often people go, oh, but that's really trendy or cool, and oh, Nike does it, or Apple does it, but they're that bigger brand. They can do what they want. For the rest of us, we have to sort of follow best practice and some rules around that, and that clear layout and just really simple to follow, guiding people through is really what's key here.
Yeah, nice tip to finish on. Thank you, Lisa. I'm just going to share my screen and we'll just finish off with all of these people in isolation that are breaking the border and escaping, and also news from other countries that are going through another wave. in this pandemic. We need to be ready to handle a resurgence of some shape on both a personal and business front. What we do know is that it's human nature. Human nature and attention span is mirrored in the digital space. Just because we're operating in the digital space doesn't change how people react. People still make first impressions and judgments. People process the information they see quickly and decide whether or not to proceed. There is a current opportunity. Don't get caught up in all the fluffy nice to haves. Get ahead of the competition by making sure your website covers those basics that Lisa has gone into. My current prediction is that businesses that use their website to convey trust and credibility will remove purchasing or inquiry roadblocks will be more successful. It just makes sense. It made sense before the pandemic, and it will make sense now even more so. My recommendation from today's webinar is that do a quick audit of your site and put your best digital foot forward by making sure your website builds trust and credibility with your existing and potential customers. If you're not sure where to start, we will be sending a link after this webinar so you can watch this again, and you can use it as basically an outline to audit in your site. Or if you don't have time, you can get in touch with us and we can help you with an audit. Zeald has helped over 15,000 businesses transform digitally over the last 20 years. We provide a free strategy and website audit session with our team of experienced digital business strategists. Zeald has also launched our Get e-commerce movement to help Kiwi businesses get online as soon as possible. And you can go to zeald.com for information about those two things. We will be sending out a feedback form after this webinar to those that have attended. Please fill it in. Your feedback is invaluable. It helps drive our topics as well. And we're running these webinars once a week as we share our tips for you to adapt and evolve in these challenging times. Our next webinar is next Wednesday on the 22nd of July at 2 p.m. It's going to be on how to position your brand and business in the digital world. Find out how to uniquely position your brand and make it stand out in the busy and highly competitive digital world. A really special thanks to Lisa. Really appreciate your insights that you've shared with us today. And if you've missed part of the webinar, again, just a reminder that it is available on our YouTube channel. And I hope that you have a good day for the rest of the day, and look forward to being with us again next week. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Rhonda.
See you.